Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the first ever edition of Alumless Takes. This is our shortened version of the show that we're going to produce every so often, but there's nobody better to try out this new concept with than my friend, presenting sponsor, founder, and CEO of Protopia, Max Leisten. How you doing, man? Thanks for doing this.
Good, good, good. Great to be here. Good to see you again, Ryan. And I assume you picked me because of that German accent. At least it'll make it funny.
I think about that, and it's great to have an international perspective, even from a guy who lives in Raleigh, and we're excited to have you, Max. You and I spent a lot of time talking about digital engagement over the years, and I wanted to make sure we focus our attention in that area kind of right off the bat to have a little conversation. What makes for great digital engagement right now? I feel like the landscape has changed a lot. Content consumption habits have changed. But just in your view, thinking about our space, advancement, alumni and donor engagement, how do you see great digital engagement?
No, that's a great question. I guess it depends a little bit on your perspective, and Protopia's perspective is very much about scaling, right? I mean, you've got amazing digital engagement tools when you think about the social media platform, the TikToks. From our perspective, when you think about the audience you are serving as an advancement alumni professional, right? And you think about design thinking, it is a person that is very busy, friends and family, they're distracted, they're stressed, and how do you reach someone like that that is overwhelmed already, by choice or not by choice? And then how do you do that at scale? And from our perspective, it has to be simple. That is number one. One statistic that always sticks out to me is that the average professional uses already 35 different apps in their day. And that is a lot, right? I mean, if I look at my desktop, there's apps all over the place and it's noisy and it's overwhelming. And even thinking about that, it's never been easier for any of us to build more apps. So you've got to start thinking about native digital engagement. Where are they already? What is the shortest way to get that person to engage and do what you want them to do in an environment that doesn't require a lot of change? So that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah.
Simple,
Yeah.
native, low friction.
I think that that's right. It's really interesting how so many things have changed. It wasn't very long ago that, Facebook was like the place where you could find everybody, right? And now we've got a scenario whereby there's TikTok, right? But my kids use YouTube all the time, right? They don't even look at network television. And now we have AI that's a factor in the way that we create content, in the way that we produce that scalable and simple, frictionless way to reach our our people. Talk a little bit about your view on how AI factors into the equation of great digital engagement.
Yeah, so but before I do, Ryan, I wanted to give you, going back to the other question, I want to give you one nugget that Carrie Jones at the London School of Economics coined around digital engagement, and I should have phrased this earlier. But she made the comparison that she thinks of where we are now, or the stage we're entering, is that fifth wave of digital engagement. And she uses analogy that the very first wave was just email, right? That is the tool how alumni advancement teams engage with alum. The second stage was the alumni directory, and you obviously a lot of directories. Then you've got a little bit the platforms, and now we finally get into a world where actually you may not even know native interfaces that let that get alumni to engage the way you want them to engage versus letting them engage how they should be engaging. From an AI perspective, I obviously AI is a great buzzword out there right now. Everybody talks about it, although we seem to be coming out on the trough side a little bit, meaning that maybe it's not as useful. The way I think about AI is simply how we think about cloud computing. It's an enabler. It gives you the power to do more of what you already want to do and have you work smarter and faster and better, automate the tasks that you may think are mundane, right? There's this famous number, Dunbar number, where 150 people. And we talk to career service professionals all the time. They have a small set of alumni that they work with, that they engage with, that they connect students with alumni. Imagine AI could do that at a multifold of 150, like all alumni, right? Because alumni helps you sort through data and process data quickly and rapidly. From our perspective, we developed our first large language model about 7 years ago, when there was no ChatGPT, simply for the purpose of extracting meaning from a question faster than a human could. Reading something, understanding what is this person looking for and who would be the best person, best alum to connect them with. That's really where AI has shined by breaking it down and accelerating. Here's what is a good match. Here's what is a good connection.
Yeah. I think that one of the things I like most about Protopia is that it uses the best parts of machine learning to speed things along, some of the mundane tasks of one-to-one connecting, right? And but yet there's a human kind of backstop to it, right?
Right.
Where you're ensuring that the right connections get made and introductions and thank yous and there's a level of humanness behind it. Because I feel like often like that's kind of what's missing, right? You're beginning to discover that AI produces a lot of like clearly identifiable slop that's like machine generated. You see it on their social streams, you can see it all over the place, and it doesn't look good. It might read fine, but it doesn't feel all that well. And every once in a while, you'll see this infographic of all these AI tools out there in these various categories. Like it kind of looks like a
Right.
big flower, right? And you're just like, how many of those are going to be around in a couple of years, right? It just feels like it's so fast and there has to be, do you think there's going to be something of a bubble like there was around like the internet commerce in the early 2000s?
I think we're already seeing that. I think that
Yeah.
number one is if you put the word AI into your startup pitch deck, you're much more likely to get funding, right? Because nobody can really predict what the future looks like. There's a lot of gambling going on. This could
Yeah.
be the future of AI, hence we're investing in there. And if you just look at the number of tools around generative AI, there's hundreds, if not more, because everybody wants to do it and everybody wants to cash in on it versus thinking about what's actually the thing you're trying to do, right? So start with the
Yeah.
goal and who you're trying to serve, and then think about AI as the right tool. To your point is, I love AI, and I was playing around with using AI to make music and images and really exploring, and I think most people should do that. But at the end of the day, you can't forget why you're doing what you're doing. And in an alumni and advancement space, it is to serve donors and alumni. And so, from our perspective, that means that even though we're using large language models, we've got human coaches, AI trainers that take a look at questions, that check, right, is everything going well, or making recommendations to students or alumni. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the connection, not just, coming up with some crap that makes a person feel good. And there's a lot of conversations going on right now. There's a woman out there called Julia Freeland Fisher. She writes a lot about social capital and what artificial AI empathy could be doing to us human beings, where we may be drawn to AI because it tells us the right things. I think that is where alumni and advancement teams really need to lean in. They're sitting on this massive gold mine of goodwill, and they've got to find a way to unlock it because nothing beats human connections. If you think about
Yeah.
getting a job, if you get to think about an alum engaging on campus, it's all about humans.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, and to that effect, Max, I know you've learned a lot working with university partners, as I'm sure most of the time, wonderful
Right.
experiences, probably some
It is.
challenging ones
Right,
along the
right, right,
way.
right.
But you've also learned a lot about how schools are thinking about scaling
Yeah.
volunteerism through digital engagement. Talk just a little bit about what you've learned working with schools.
Yeah, so and I spoke to a large school 2 days ago, and that individual basically said, "What's the number one impediment to scaling volunteering?" Right? I think the first thing is getting schools to redefine what volunteering means. It does not have to mean coming on campus. It does not have to mean participating in an event. It does not have to mean to be a long-term mentor. Every small act of kindness that's intentional makes that person feel good and boosts affinity. They proactively do something that you value is volunteering. It's just in a smaller microcurrency that at volume are very meaningful, right? I have never attended an event from my alma mater because it requires me going somewhere else and doing something different. But I've helped students because it was easy and I wanted to do something and it was very meaningful and it enhanced how I feel about the school, right? So number one is think about volunteering much more broadly because you've got
Yeah.
nearly every alum could be a volunteer if you look at it from that perspective. The other perspective, impediments, what this individual asks, what's stopping something like Protopia? It is collaboration. The number one factor that drives success of a solution like Protopia, it is collaboration between alumni and career services, alumni and faculty, alumni admissions. In fact, we did a focus group just a little while ago with a couple of customers, and the theme that really came out, and this was a quote from one of our larger customers that basically said, "We have never had before a tool that allowed alumni in Korea to do the same thing. It's brought us together closer because we actually used the same tool, the same goals, and that was amazing. We hit it all the time. If that collaboration is not in place, it is an uphill battle." Right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, every function on campus wants the same thing and start there.
Yeah. It has got to be some shared goals, right? I mean, there has to be
Right.
some like reason for the collaboration, this joint effort, rather and not siloed, right? And I think a lot of
Yeah.
universities really struggle with the silos and sort of unit-based goals rather than thinking holistically about engagement of stakeholders. Schools that are having the most success with Protopia, Max, I know you presented
Yep.
at the Case Summit with the group Josh Harriman from Ohio State, and you all have won Case Awards with your work with LSE and Northwestern. Talk a little bit about when it's working well. I assume it has a lot to do with that collaboration, right? But
Yep.
what are those schools doing differently?
Yeah, I mean, number one is make sure this decision that everybody makes up front. And I was talking to Marilyn Rice at Ohio State yesterday, and we laughed at the fact that during the initial evaluation of Protopia, there were multiple webinars with over 100 people on the webinar. Socializing, reminding them why that collaboration matters, reminding them that everybody serves the same individuals, whether that's students or alumni, getting the word out and reminding them of the mission of why they're there and how this tool can help support their goals, right? It drives more engagement with the students and career services. It opens doors at dream companies. It gets alumni to volunteer. It is really, we take that incredibly seriously. It is really getting all those stakeholders up front to the table saying, wouldn't it be great if you could have more prospective students connect with alumni that can demonstrate real career outcomes and saying, if you graduate from this school, here's careers available to you, right? Or talking
Yeah.
to faculty, wouldn't it be amazing if it were easier for you to recruit alumni to come into the classroom to help you with your research? Alumni, in my mind, that I'm biased, are really one of the most powerful but underutilized tools on campus. They can change meaningfully nearly every KPI that a school cares about. And the one thing that's stopping this is access to it, the rules to it. And there was a school a few months ago where the individual said, I cannot contact alumni without reaching out to advancement first because they're going to slap my hand. And I'm worried. So now I no longer actually ask and I no longer reach out to alumni. And that kind of breaks my heart, right? Because
We just
again,
lose,
there
right? I
are,
mean, everybody loses on that one.
right, everybody loses, including the alum who really would
Yeah.
like to help and make a difference. So that's kind of how we think about it. There is a win-win-win that you can deliver from a scalability perspective and simplicity perspective. And it starts with that collaboration.
Yeah. Max, if you had one wish for advancement teams moving forward right
Right.
now, aside from
Yeah,
adopting Protopia ASAP,
of course.
like what would that wish be?
It would be more open to change, be more open to different worlds, right? From our perspective, there's a lot of schools that are holding on to, let's say, legacy methods of engaging
Yeah.
alumni. Those methods shape their mindset, and just keeping a mind open. What if the world were simpler and different? But kind of like design thinking, right? Start understanding really your constituents and who they are and how to operate, what they're looking for, and optimize for them. Don't optimize for what you can and cannot do.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
All
then,
right.
of
Well, let's
course,
leave.
consider Protopia.
And then, of course, absolutely, which everyone should do.
Right.
Max, thank you so much. It was great to have you on this edition of our first
Thank
edition
you.
of Alumless Takes. Always good to talk with you. Thank you for the fresh perspective you bring to the field. Grateful to have you. And thanks to listeners for tuning in, adding Alumless to your feed. We hope you enjoy these shorter episodes that we'll bring to you as often as we can, particularly on those off weeks where we don't have an episode planned. And thank you again, listeners. Be back in your feed soon. Bye.
Bye bye.